Hi there. In this lecture we see Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces playing against Dmitry Jakovenko. Magnus seems to have his ruthless pass pawn hat on, to do with initially pawn majorities which can help create a pass pawn. So the opening is d4, d5, c4, e6. Magnus plays knight c3, bishop e7. The pawn structure is changed with c takes. So after e takes, we can note here that white potentially has a 4-3 pawn majority, especially if this pawn ends up on e5. We can see that if you imagine the 4 pawns here, they'll be against the 3 pawns. So playing for e5 would give us even more weight for a pawn majority and a potential of a passed pawn. Bear that in mind. We have bishop f4, c6, queen c2. This is gearing up for a quick e4 sometimes. We have bishop d6, that's taken, queen takes e3, knight e7, bishop d3. So black cannot easily castle here without dropping h7. So we have b6 instead. Black tries to trade off the light square bishops. We have knight f3, bishop e6. Now black trades off and is more able to castle. Knight d7 is played, perhaps fearing knight e5 installation with f4 in mind. So knight d7, but now there's a more kind of profound threat about the pawn majority which I mentioned. That scenario where the pawn's on e5 would mean a clearer 4-3 pawn majority. We have to move e4, and you might think, well, black can just snap that off, can't they? Black actually just castled. The thing is, if d takes, knight takes e4, we have a technical move which comes to our help here in this position, which sets huge problems for black with the king in the center. Can you see what it is for 10 points? It'll be setting, huge problems. It's queen a3. So after queen a3 here, if black castles, what would you play for 10 points? We shouldn't be in a rush to take the knight. We should play knight c3. Where's the queen going? We don't want our knight hanging as a responsibility. If the queen goes to say f5, then we take the knight, and then we've got d6 to go to as one example, or other squares. We don't want to take the knight immediately there because this is a skewer. Queen h4, and black is actually slightly better there. But queen a3 is pretty punishing here. If c5, again, knight c3 is a good move. And then here, rook fe1, knight f6, let's say check, and the black king's inconvenienced. We are clearly better here. The black rooks are still in bed. We're just so much more coordinated. So d takes does seem to be dissuaded by this subtlety here, queen a3, funny enough. If queen e6, queen a3, and if castling knight fg5, and again we're kicking the queen away from, we're winning that knight here. Rook fe8, we have queen d6 in this case, and let's say h6, we end up at least winning the exchange. We're going to meet the exchange up with a winning position. So in other words, it does seem d takes is not on the cards, which means in turn we have this epic pawn majority on the king side. 4-3 here has been achieved from the opening. Incredible strategic achievement in the opening. So this has been a very, very strong tournament from Magnus Carlsen, this 2009 Pearl Springs, dominating the event, and he's got a fantastic position from the opening here. Rook a to e1, rook fe8. Philidor would be proud of this position. The pawns are the soul of chess. They're the soul of this position. And in fact here, this is also an inaccuracy. Black should try f6 for some dynamic play. If f6, as example, e takes, queen takes, and here black has some dynamic play on the semi-open f file, and that would be limiting white's advantage. It wouldn't be so much about the pawn chains if f6 had been played. It makes the game more tactical and gives black more activity. If we played queen d1 here, knight f5, and say taking here, again, black's got some activity and white's edge is limited. But black actually makes things worse with rook fe8. And now we have a very cool move. Philidor would be proud, as I say, of Magnus Carlsen in this game. This is Magnus Carlsen's Philidor, pass pawn enthusiast, getting to see the light of pass pawn potential. It's knight h4. We have the rook ready to roll this pawn forward with f4, f5. We have knight g6. If f6, f4, f takes, we can play with d takes. We've got a 4-2 majority here. Black's pawn majority is not really scary at the moment. So say queen g4, we can have at least a slight advantage here. Even with double pawns, we get a nice advantage. So anyway, after knight h4, knight g6 was played. We have knight takes g6, queen takes, queen d2, knight f8, f4. This is starting to look like a game of Philidor. Queen f5 is actually a mistake, which makes the game even more instructive and clear for the pass pawn majorities. That white has, not that black has, pass pawn majority. f5 was absolutely necessary here to try and blockade. Black's suffering with this 4-3, but this provides an interesting blockade opportunity with a knight on e6 blockading that pass pawn. So Nimzowitsch would be proud of that blockade. That is the way to go, but white is still better here significantly in this position with advantage. It doesn't solve all of black's problems. We can start playing on this side of the board. So anyway, queen f5 is played. Another great move to try and liberate these pawns, knight d1. So ideas of like knight e3, for example. We could also go with knight e2 to go to g3 potentially. c5, knight g3. This would be strong for the pawn majority, or just winning pawn on d5 and c5. That would be a great position. So knight d1, we have f6, making things even worse. It's as though black is trying to make a pawn majority iconic game here with f6. We have knight e3. So let's just go with the game here on this occasion. Knight e3. And now, the problem is if queen e4, we can go with knight c4. That's going to be silly to play knight e4 with tempo against the queen. Going into d6, this is not going to be nice after f5. Queen c3, how does black really defend this position? It starts to get difficult to actually defend this position. Things are going to start falling off. Okay, so anyway, queen d7, we have queen d3, f takes, d takes, knight e6. Look at this pawn roller, f5. The knight is trying to be a nuisance on e4. We have queen d4. Magnus sees this knight as a downside, not so much as an upside. It's seen as a downside here of black's position. And in fact, we do have x-ray pressure on d7. Magnus is an expert with x-rays and pins. Guess what is played here? For 100 points, white's play. It's knight takes d5. We can reveal the full beauty of our big pawn majority after this tactic, winning a pawn as well. So queen takes is played. If c takes, we have rook takes e4. Say queen b5, we won a key pawn there. So even more crushing position. So queen takes is played. Queen takes e4, rook a to the 8, e6. We have queen takes e4, rook takes, rook d6, g4. This is such a vivid pawn majority game now. We've got a 4-2 pawn majority here. King f8, g5. It's going to steamroll into the black position. These pawns are steamrolling black. King g3. The king's ready even for king g4 if needed, if f5 is challenged more. We have king d6, h4. c5 makes things even worse. Maybe the kings should have stuck around on that side of the board, but it's still terrible for black after f6 check, king g4. We're making great progress. As I say, Philidor would be proud of this game. We can make great progress here. Two connected pass pawns emerging there, crushing position. So c5 makes things even worse. We have f6, g takes, and the pawns are basically unstoppable. Rook d3 check, king h2, rook d2 check, king h1, and the game ends here. So let's see. There's no continuation for black. If rook d4 we just take and then e7, there's no continuation here. King e6, f7, and then we queen. That's one example. It's all pretty crushing in the end here. If we look at this game end position, the pass pawns are just winning. If rook takes e6, we can take and then f7 and then queening. It's all winning. with these passed pawns. So it's amazing, this kind of thematic plan. We could see it from the opening. This opening choice gets a kind of potential majority. If we imagine the pawn was on e5, we've got 4-3. But yeah, the tactics around e4 and d takes are quite fascinating as well. Technically, how the tactics are working for white to achieve this first strategic kind of checkpoint in the position where we've got 4-3 like this. So it's quite an incredible game from the perspective of pawn majorities and how it can just win. Like Fedor would be proud, I would say, of Magnus in this game. Okay, pawns are the soul of chess, as Fedor said. Great stuff. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed this free sample lecture. It's from one of my courses. You can check out my courses at Kingscrusher.tv. So you'll get these coupon codes which will give you great discounts. I have over 50 courses now, been working on them for the last few years. All sorts of chess topics, chess skill topics like tactics, calculation, visualization. And you can see my previous bestsellers highlighted. So I do hope you check out this Kingscrusher TV page. It does help support the channel and encourage me to share with you more free samples. So comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. And if you really, if you want to know the specific course the lecture was about, please do leave a comment in the video, and that will prompt me for a pinned comment, etc., just to clarify for this particular video which course it was from. Okay, thanks very much.